In this video I'm going to show you the main disassembly of the SSG24 into the main components. Now this will be more or less the beginning video for all the steps that you will see next. So if you want to exchange, for example, the Hopup rubber, first you follow the steps to take it apart to the main parts, and then you follow the specific guide linked in the sidebar. To take the SSG24 apart, we have 3 screws that connect the stock to the receiver barrel assembly. And since you're already talking about tools, you need a set of Allen keys, you need a large Phillips screwdriver, small Phillips screwdriver, and needle nose pliers. That's it, that's all you need to completely strip down the SSG24. Alright, let's start right here with an Allen key. Again, those 3 screws right here connect the stock of the gun to the receiver barrel assembly. So there's one right here, there's one here behind the trigger guard, and keep them in the holes because they have different lengths, and if you screw this long screw into this hole over here, you're gonna cause some issues. Then here, that front bipod stud also acts as a screw. So you just insert the Allen key, twist it counterclockwise, and put that part aside. And now by pressing into the mag well and pulling on the stock, you can just separate those 2 parts and get access to the receiver barrel assembly. So that's one of the first main components, the stock. What you want to do next is remove the mag well from the receiver barrel assembly by turning those 2 screws here with the small Phillips screwdriver counterclockwise. Take the mag well off, leave those screws inside so you don't lose them. And then also, take out the bipod stud so you don't lose this part right here. Also put this one aside. And then in order to separate the outer barrel from the receiver, you have to loose this screw here on top. And therefore you can use the included Allen key. So remove this screw here in front. Take it out, put it aside. Then you insert a 1.5mm Allen key inside this hole to loose the thread screw right here. Alright, then you can separate the outer barrel from the receiver. Loosening the screw on top is very important because if you don't do it and you try to unscrew it with a ton of force, you're gonna break this threading right here. So please take care of that. Next, what you want to do is removing those 2 screws right here. Those are for the Hopup lever. Just turn them out and put them on the side. Don't lose those tiny screws. Now you can push out the Hopup chamber by inserting your finger right here. Then you can get this part out. Alright, so those are the main parts. So we have the power unit right here, so receiver with the bolt and the trigger unit. Then we have the externals, which is the stock and the outer barrel. And then we have the precision part, which is right here, the Hopup unit and the inner barrel. For tagging purposes, those are really the 2 parts you want to disassemble, where maybe you have to exchange the Hopup rubber after a few thousand shots, or maybe you want to exchange the spring, but the other 2 parts you don't really have to touch. You can't do much on the outer barrel and you can't do much on the stock of the gun. In this video I'm going to show you how to exchange the spring of a SSG24 to get the desired FPS. Now in the online shop you could choose between M90, M130 and M150 pre-installed. However, there are some fields which, some of the springs are too low or too high. So you can buy additional springs and then install them into your SSG. It is quite easy, but still, please watch the video before you do it. Now, to get to this part right here of the gun, please watch the main disassembly video. And once you watch that, we can go right away. Remove first the cylinder head of the system. Therefore, you can use needle nose pliers or you use a wrench which fits on here exactly. So you insert the tips of your needle nose pliers and turn the cylinder head counterclockwise. Now here I've seen some people using an Allen key like this, and then they turn. Never ever do that. This nozzle is very thin, and if you apply too much force in it, it might bend. So always use either needle nose pliers or a wrench. Okay, then turn it all the way off. Then the cylinder head comes off, and then you can take out the piston and the spring. Now that's the M150, but you want to exchange it to an M170. This will work with any spring, this guide, but in this case I'm just going to show you how it goes with the M170. The M170 is a linear spring, which means that on both sides it's the same. However, I do offer some springs which are not linear. For example, the M150, you can see here you have more narrow coils than here. And then more narrow coils always go to the back, and this part here goes into the piston. But again, on M170 that's not the case, so just insert it however you want. And when you insert it, make sure that it goes onto the spring guide in here and not on the side of the spring guide. You can watch this right here. When I insert the spring, it goes onto the spring guide. But if you do it wrong, it looks kind of like that. You see? Then I can't put the spring onto the spring guide. So again, make sure that it's on the spring guide. Then you take the piston, just put all of this together, and then make sure that the spring guide stopper is all the way in. This part here has to be pushed in. If it's looking out a little bit, like this, push it in there again before you screw it back together. Then take the nozzle, put it to the tip of the piston, and then just push the piston inside and screw it inside. Now here you need a little bit of force, but it should be very manageable. And in the end, you have to tighten it again so that it seals perfectly by using the needle nose pliers and not an Allen key, just like I said. And then, before you put the gun back together, by using the main assembly video, cock the gun and test if it seals perfectly. So seal the tip of the nozzle with your finger, and then have a look that the piston stops right here, and then when you release your finger, it should accelerate again. This means that the system is perfectly airtight. How to exchange the hopper bucking on your SSG24 to a new one. Now that's what you want to do after around 10,000 shots. You should change it because it's a part that will work. It's natural, it's a rubber that applies, the backspin on the BB, and there's no way that it's not going to work. So you have to exchange it after around 10,000 shots. Now in order to get to this part, that's where the hopper bucking is inside, you have to watch the main disassembly video of the SSG24. It will show you how to get to this part right here. Okay, let's get started. First you need a small Phillips screwdriver. And with this one, we unscrew the two hopper adjusters. So this tiny screw right here, then that screw here, and then we can remove it. Here when you remove it, put your finger right here, because there will be a tiny spring and a tiny pin inside here. I can show you real quick. It looks like this. Here's the spring. Don't lose those parts, they're very important, and if they for some reason jump out, search them and insert them back in. First the spring goes into this hole, and then the pin with the pointy tip facing you and the flat tip going into the part. Okay, leave those screws inside here so you don't lose them, put them aside. Then you want to lose this screw, again with the small Phillips screwdriver, then the second one right here, and then we can already open the hop-up chamber. Just lift this part right here, and if it goes a little bit hard, it helps to put this hop-up adjuster all the way to the back. Then it's going to be a lot easier. Alright, here we have the hop-up adjuster arm, inner barrel with hop-up bucking, and here we have the second shell of the hop-up adjustment chamber, and also this adjustment arm. Alright, to remove the hop-up bucking, just pull it off there, really easy. Then use the new one, just take it out of the package and then put it on there again. Now the Hopup has this little knob here on the side, and it has to go onto the barrel like this. So the opening faces you and the knob will also face you. So you just put it on there completely, then twist it a little bit until it kind of clicks into place. And you will see this little knob here and this one here should be aligned. But it will kind of click into place, so you can't really miss that. Then you put it back into the Hopup chamber like this, that the knob is facing you again. Don't exchange the shells. One shell has this little cut here, one doesn't. That's where you want the barrel to sit inside. Then move this adjuster to this position again. Then take this little arm, put it here so it's aligned with this hole, and then you can screw all of it back together like this. Shouldn't be too difficult. I think it's very manageable. Just screw the screw here in again. Then the second one. And then you can place this second Hopup adjuster onto the Hopup chamber, put this pin inside, and then this pin goes right here, press it here together, and then this little plastic piece must be aligned with this hole so that it pops in there. Maybe it goes a little bit hard, but here we go. Now we can screw it back together. Number 1, number 2. Alright, and as you can see, now if we pull it forward, the Hopup arm presses further into the Hopup bucking, and if we move it back, it does the opposite. Alright, that's how you exchange the bucking. Again, you have to do this every, like 10,000 shots. Another reason why you should change the Hopup bucking is if your gun doesn't seal perfectly anymore, it means that it just whirs too much. And then it's also a good idea to put a new one into your SSG. Now in order to get this back into your gun, please watch the SSG main assembly video. And if you have any problems, don't hesitate to contact me.